recording on 1 and recording on 2. We're recording.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I call to order the CCUSD Governing Board Retreat. Today is Tuesday, August 22nd. It is 6:11. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 1.3, roll call. All members of the board are here except for Vice President Brown. He is not here. Item 1.4, formal adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. 2.1, presentation and discussion regarding the governing board's internal collective norms that guide the board members' presentation for and participation in board meetings. And that's presented by myself and Mrs. Williams.
Oh, thank you.
You're
I didn't know I
welcome.
was married. I appreciate it.
Or Ms.
Surprising.
Okay.
That's all right. No,
Ms. Williams,
you can call
sorry.
me Alicia. That's fine. So thank you for having me. We've all met, and I've enjoyed all of our conversations and learning a little bit about you and what you stand for and how you're involved in the Cave Creek community. I gave you all a wonderful reflection workbook to think about your role and to think about your position on the board, and we will reference that a few times during today's session. There's an agenda in front of you. I'm a former teacher and administrator, so it's like you're my students. We'll do some Kagan strategies, which is you work with the partner across from you or next to you, shoulder buddies. But ultimately, at the end of today, we will have 3 to 5 norms of how you operate as a board. I was also the executive director of the Arizona State Board of Education, and this process we went through numerous times, especially as board makeups changed and issues were brought forth to board members themselves or to myself as executive director. Because ultimately norms or commitments, or if you're in business, you can call it standard operating procedures, really just help to communicate the expectations of each other and of yourself, okay? So the first activity that we're going to do involves you guys and your values that you wrote about in your workbooks. If you recall, I gave you like 3 questions, right, to answer. What about the role gets you excited? What kind of impact do you want to have at the end of your term? And then what do you believe makes an engaged, dynamic, and successful governing board member? So, I will have Janet and Courtney.
Yeah, it works.
I have a friend named Courtney, so it's like
Okay.
you 2 work together.
Okay.
And then if you 2 will work together,
Okay.
and then you'll just hang out for a little bit.
Okay. Just
And
hang out.
we'll do this for about 10 minutes, and what I want you to do is I want you just to have the conversation with your partner about yourself. But here's the twist. The partner, I need you to really pay attention because it's going to be your job to share out to the group on your partner. Okay?
Okay.
So we have a whole 10 minutes, so I'll give this part maybe 2 minutes per person. Okay, and I'll tell you when to switch.
You gotta go first.
I gotta go first?
You gotta go first.
I gotta go first.
Okay.
Should we go sit somewhere else?
Yeah, you can go sit somewhere else if you want. You can go on the dais, you can go in the audience.
Getting to know each other by what we answered.
Okay.
By what, yeah.
Okay.
So what are, let's see, those 3 questions were, what about the role gets you excited? What kind of impact do you want to have? And what do you believe makes an engaged, dynamic, and successful board? I guess those were them.
Okay,
You can go first.
all right. So what I wrote is, what gets me excited is
you wanna
A,
share
paying
with
it
me?
forward. I had great people who served
Sure.
on the board when my kids were in school, and I'm kind of a joiner. I don't sit around a lot. I like to get involved and, figure out what's gonna fit, and I've always had a passion about kids
So what
and
excites me
education,
is the
mostly
opportunity
nutrition in schools. That's kind of was my
dedicated
original
and talented group of
thing way back
professionals,
when my kids were little, but
Yeah.
as well as the
bless your heart for
opportunity to
being on the board with small children, because I'm like, oh, I could never figure out how to do all that.
this transition.
And I feel like
I would like to have,
I listen to so
I
many
would
people
like
talk
the
about
district to be
millennials
closer
and
to all students
Gen X,
achieving their
the
E,
kind of different kind of Gen X, Gen Z, and they trash
their
it.
E's when you're
And I listen,
employed,
I'm like,
enlisted, or
why? Why don't we listen?
Yeah.
We need to listen. First of all, they're making
like to
decisions
have
for us later, and
new
second of
or
all,
improved
just because they
systems
do things differently
for our
doesn't mean it's wrong.
communication,
Like,
safety, and achievement.
my least favorite, one of my least favorite
Basically, this ties in my
phrases
priorities
is,
and our
well,
goals.
that's how we've always done it, or we've never done
And
it
I'd like
like
to
that.
leave the
It's like,
district in
well,
good hands.
we'd still
whether
be in
that's
horse and
mine or
buggy,
someone
so,
else's.
Yeah,
Ford
we
didn't
didn't.
say, let's put wheels on a buggy and a motor.
Yeah.
So, I really like that. I love listening to kids and their ideas. I loved being part of graduation. It was just so fun watching those fresh faces.
Yeah.
Students are still ready.
And it was also funny thinking, kids haven't changed that much in decades since
Right.
it's still like, oh, there I am on the bus.
Yeah.
You have about 15 seconds to wrap up your thought, and then it'll be the other person's turn.
So anyway, I'm also passionate about bringing the community back together. We have so many good
The
resources.
last one,
We have to stop having
it's my,
big
you're born with
brain
two ears and
cells
one mouth for a
everything.
reason, so you
We
listen
figure
twice
out
as
how
much
to
as you speak.
bring the
Okay, go ahead and
Yeah.
switch.
Yeah. Mine's actually super similar. I've always liked to volunteer something.
put aside
So
personal
came
agendas
to
to
the school board
accomplish
after we had like closed our foster license. It was like pandemic
Either
time. Our
accomplish
last
for all
foster
or for
daughter
the good of all
was
students.
adopted out with a
As
sibling.
close to that as
And so
possible.
then it was like, oh, what do I even do to like give back
Sees
to my
the forest
community?
through
So
the
that's kind
trees,
of
so
how I
a big picture.
got involved with the board. So yeah,
Communicates
just like to
openly,
be
and that's
involved.
with the
And
superintendent
it's
individually,
like
with board
PTO
members
things aren't really me. I think my
individually,
business
at
mind
work
is more like,
as
oh, I can
collective.
sit on a board and look at budgets. That's just not the way my
It's all the
brain
people that
works.
we-
Then organizing like a carnival. So
Allows
Yes.
and
I was like,
supports
oh, I'm
educational
doing that when the kids were like really little.
in the district.
So yeah, this was more my cup of tea. I can make hard decisions if I need to, but I feel like giving back and I've got 4 kids in all the schools and have a different perspective. So that was kind of my why. It's more of just
Try to
giving
do
back.
justice.
And I get excited about the same
Tries to
things. I
avoid
think
failure.
being up for like the
Justice.
carefree community really has like that community feel. And so just being able to kind of bridge the gap with the age gap.
Yeah.
So, cool. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, those are things that excite me. I just want to have like a community garden.
And engaged dynamic.
Something like that. And like where it brings all, I feel like the theater and like the Holland Center, like all those events kind of bring people together really well. But something that can be like, oh, the schools, participate in this. And local community members can go take advantage of it. And
When you say that about community garden, that's been on my list too. It's funny, I live I live in a cul-de-sac, right behind the high school, between the Walker High School.
Okay.
And it's.
Okay, you have 15 more seconds.
My homeowners association owns it probably, but it can't be built.
I lied, it was
Oh,
5
yeah.
So
seconds.
I've always kept thinking, how can we do this?
All right, wrap up your final thought.
The school involved, because it's right there.
It's right there.
So it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I went to a gardening center and met 2 women who I still have their cards. This was right after I got elected. That they like worked for
All right, and let's bring it
the
back in.
USDA
You can
or
stay where you're at.
Okay. Wanted to bring community gardens.
So,
Yeah.
the next thing I want you to do, and it's going to be quick, it's like 30 seconds a person, is what I heard in these conversations was a lot about board membership and you as the person within Cave Creek Unified School District, which was appropriate. Now I want you to take 30 seconds and I want you to tell your partner just 2 fun things about yourself that maybe they don't know. And partner, you're going to be responsible for sharing at least one of them out. be a hobby. It could be maybe in high school you were an Olympic swimmer. Who knows? Some fun stuff.
Stop
Go ahead.
talking about me.
Go ahead and start.
You go first this time.
Okay.
Let's see, 2 things about me. I enjoy doing like
I'm 1,000 point. I'm in
like
1,000
home
point
design,
forward.
even though I don't really have a background in it. But
I was the
doing
10th
real
player
estate,
in the
I help people
history of
just
the college.
update. We built our house and then so people, and I GC kind of that project. So then I was like, oh, you can help me, which I actually super love, like picking out all the things.
Stretch 4?
Stretch 4.
Yeah,
See.
were you a stretch
I
4?
also have
Stretch
my
5?
yoga certification.
Oh, no, I was a
that
center.
teach. So, yeah.
Yoga every morning.
Throw an elbow
Inside
between.
timers, you know?
Oh.
You're inside
Not a
timers.
stretch 4?
Ah.
Not a stretch 5?
Okay.
You can't
No,
run
I
a
was
3-point
5.
line ready to,
I hit
so
1
mine
3 in my
is
career
in
and I
the
banked it.
44 of the 50
Did you call Meg?
states, and
I bet it
I'm
counts.
really gunning to knock
I
out
probably
the
put in the wrong vein for
this
that.
year.
Nice.
In the school
In
year.
the school year. Yeah.
Oddly, 3 of them are right here. It's the Dakotas
hitchhiked
and
around
Wyoming.
for 6
yeah.
months.
Although, I think I've been to Wyoming, but my parents can't remember either, so I'm like, okay, then I'm just gonna go do it.
At least they're all.
And in the meantime, along with that, I'm starting to knock out the presidential museums.
That would be in a
Oh,
heartbeat.
that's awesome.
So there's that.
But
And
now that my
then,
daughter's having kids, I don't think I'll ever get my wife to leave.
just another random thing. I love tomatoes anyway, but
Yeah.
raw.
That was
Really? Okay.
Sun-dried, I'll eat them, whatever, but if they're raw.
All right, if you haven't switched yet, go
Wow.
ahead and switch.
Oh,
Oh, we're fast.
we are fast.
Yes, got that done.
Okay, so let's see. General
I did
contract.
teach like high school girls that for a little bit, but just as something I was trying to.
Did you get it
back
just for
to.
fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I loved it. I was like, I'm learning this. So.
You'll have to check out the Inside Timer app. It's a free app.
Okay.
And you can, they have extended courses
Sorry,
at
two down,
$60 a
brothers.
year, and you
Yeah.
can get access to other stuff.
And I watched my
It's a
other brother get
donation
hit by a
based
car as
platform,
far
not
away as you
required.
and I are.
Yeah.
That you log on.
When I was 8, he was 4.
And they probably have 20 library classes a day, and it's all over the world, so
Okay.
it doesn't matter where, you can always find
Yeah.
someone, something. There's a new guy on there that I found. that's
Okay, go
teaching
ahead and
yoga
wrap
for
it up.
cancer survivors. I mean,
wow.
just all interesting
Yeah.
perspectives of it. I've learned a lot, and I don't compete with anybody,
Yeah.
which I know you're not supposed to.
Yes, you're not supposed to.
Stay on your own mats.
Yeah. Just doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's come back to the table. I can stand, but I mean, we're all like right here.
Yeah.
In front of you have pads of paper. Okay. So as we're all sharing about the other person, I want you to take notes on areas that you find similarities with that person.
Okay.
And once everyone's shared, then we'll go through and share our personal similarities out to the group as well.
Okay.
Do you want me to repeat that?
No, I think I got it.
Okay. You should have one too.
No, thank you.
All right, I'll go first so I demonstrate. Okay. So this is Bill. He is the interim superintendent at Cape Creek. He's excited for this position because he gets to lead dedicated people every day. And he wishes to stabilize the district through transition. And he feels confident that he can do that. He wishes to be impactful by having students achieve their E's, which he explained to me is employment, enlisting,
Or enrolling.
or enrollment. He's excited to improve systems around communications, safety, and student achievement. And I wrote down good hands, so I didn't take good notes because I just wrote good hands for number 4.
That I'd like to leave the district in good hands.
Good hands. As far as boardsmanship goes, and board, he wishes for everyone to listen twice as much as speaking and to really understand each other and where everyone's coming from a place of good. Find solutions for the good of all, and really focus on the big picture. fun fact, 2 fun facts. Bill has 2 brothers with Down syndrome. He also backpacked and hitchhiked through Africa for 6 months. So hopefully you found something that is also
Well, the
similar to you.
backpacking through Africa, definitely.
Obviously.
Obviously, we all
Obviously.
done that.
Okay.
Well, I did
Oh, go
not get
ahead.
the first 3, but this is Alicia, and she was the 10th member of the 1,000-point club at Mountain Union College?
Yes.
University?
Yes.
For basketball, so she,
Nice.
That's my fast fun fact.
Oh, my turn?
Your turn.
Okay.
If you'd like to go next.
This is Fortney, also known as Jeff. What gets him excited is being able to give back to the community. He was a teacher in the district, and he's an advocate for teachers, kids, and staff. I'm going to kind of like blend all of these together, but it's important for him to make a positive impact and a difference across the district, you know, for teachers, kids, students, kids are the students. And, you know, at the end of his term, that sort of encompasses everything. His ambition is to make a positive difference, so he wants to leave the district in a little better place than where he started. And what makes a good board, doing their homework, listening, and recognizing that we're only a piece of the wheel. We're not the wheel individually. And his fun fact is he's a big outdoorsy guy, and he loves traditional margaritas.
There you go.
Jenna, was there anything that surprised you?
No. No.
Is there anything
Oh,
that-
well, the margaritas did. We were trying to figure out what your drink was.
That's true. Is that back in the snack cabinet? I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
That'd be all right.
Uh-huh.
Jeff, did she do a good job?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to hear that.
All right. Well, this is Janet. She wants to make a positive difference. That's a big deal for her, being a vehicle for change, and trying to find innovative and creative ways that we can address the needs of the district, and being able to adapt to the needs of the students. You know, there's a lot of us going on, and there's a lot of things going on here that are affecting the students. Being able to address that effectively, those are big deals for her. She also said, as far as being a good board member, listening, being open-minded, putting biases aside, and then there's she's a hiker, and she does Spartan races, which I had never heard of, but they sound like amazing things. So, yay, wait for go for that. And she's got that shirt from Notre Dame that says "Play like a champion." It's not all about being for Notre Dame. It's about playing like a champion.
Wow. Well, thank you. You got it all.
What surprised you?
That Spartan races thing, man, that's like, tell me more about that.
Is that where you get electrocuted and stuff?
No. The Spartan
Okay.
races is like you got one of those 5-gallon buckets full of rocks. So it weighs like 50 pounds, and you got to haul it uphill.
Oh.
And you know, you run. I had to scale some walls, and
Okay.
there was a big like ravine thing that was full of muddy water, and there was this big wall, and we had to figure out how to get to the other side, because then we had to climb out, and there was like space like about this big, and there was no way I was putting my face in the muddy water.
Going under.
But to run that whole race, it's probably like 3.5 hours at the end. There's this huge, you know, like the military, the rope thing that they climb up, that frame thing. It's 25 feet high, and you got to crawl up one side and down the other. And for somebody who doesn't like heights,
But you did it.
I
But
did
you
it.
did it.
Did it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've done it more than once.
The Tough Mudder is similar.
Oh,
and
that's what I
the
was
one where
thinking.
you get
Yeah.
electrocuted.
Electrocuted,
Like, yeah, you have to
cold
crawl through the
water,
bug guy.
Yeah, well, this is done in February.
Okay.
Jeff, do you think after learning about the Spartan race, you're gonna go out and do that yourself? I mean, you're an outdoorsy guy.
No, I might have to look into that. That could be fun.
Do you have teams?
You can. You can do it as a team, you can do it as an individual. It's more about getting through it than saying,
Right.
it's
Finishing.
it's a mental challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know,
Sounds
you're
good.
looking at that hill going, you want me to carry this up that?
Goodness. Well, thank you for sharing, both of you.
This is Jackie, and she decided to run for the board because she really likes being involved in her community. She was always involved with her kids' schools, and so she's busy, like me. So she likes to get involved, and so she lives super close and wanted to give back to the community. Really wanted to bridge the gap of all the divide that's been happening the last few years and kind of bring everybody back together, especially within the community. So that was kind of her why for doing things. Let me see, what else? She first really, even with her children's school, was interested in child nutrition. So that was something that really got her interested in education, how nutrition plays a role in that. And then, let's see, fun facts. She loves all tomatoes except if they're raw. So she will not eat a raw tomato, only cooked tomatoes or sun-dried tomatoes. And shoot, I was like, I can easily remember all this without taking any notes. And her other fun fact,
You can help her out if you want.
travel. Oh yeah, she's done 44 out of the 50 states. So
Nice.
her goal is to get another 4 this school year, so.
Gotta check
checking
them all off.
And I do remember she has Dakotas and Wyoming is like the next 3. That should be fairly easy to tackle.
They're right here.
I'm going to Wyoming in October. It's not that big of a deal.
Might have to go and carry your bags so I can say how it went.
Or go to Jackson Hole, the Tetons over.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
And
Yeah.
did you, Brianna, did you find anything surprising?
Not really.
The
'cause
tomatoes?
The tomatoes was shocking because I didn't know. Yeah, that was a little bit shocking. I'm like, oh, usually tomato, all the things, but
I'm known as the tomato hater.
yeah,
I have a girlfriend that would
But
eat them like
no.
apples.
I did too.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jackie,
Yeah.
did she do a good job? She
Yeah.
miss anything?
No, I don't think so. That's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Good, Jackie.
All right, this is Brianna, and I learned a lot about her and a lot of very impressive things. Not surprisingly, that she was a foster parent, and that was her way of getting involved until, a few years ago, the thing that shall remain nameless. And when that kind of changed things, then she wanted to still be involved with 4 kids in the district. That's when she decided to run for school board, and the common theme is giving back and making a difference and all that kind of good stuff. She's involved in real estate and kind of some fun facts. There were several. She has her yoga certification, although she doesn't do anything with it as on the professional level. But she knows a lot and has done some things with the teenage girls, high school girls. We have a shared common interest in a community garden, so I did learn that. And she was basically the general contractor on the house they built, so I was way impressed with that. Yeah,
Would that be your most surprising fact with her?
probably. Yeah,
I was surprised when I learned that.
yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, I heard some commonalities. Jeff, because you're looking at me. I'll have you go first this time.
Mostly is, the things I heard is impactful, listening, and being involved in the community. That's what's kind of rang through everything.
Does anyone have anything different or more personal? Maybe you heard something. I mean, between Jackie and Brianna, I heard you're both really supportive of community gardens.
like
I
health
think
and
just that
nutrition.
community emphasis was big for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody kind of covered it, and I think everybody wants to make a difference. Everybody's about the kids,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of why we're all here.
And I heard some things too about, speaking of like just the board, right? And the organization of the board and the management, or you can call it boardsmanship of the board. Doing homework, listening. I heard listening quite a few times. And also I liked the open-mindedness, right? And putting, Jen, I think this was you shared it, Jeff, of putting the biases aside, right? Did anyone hear anything different pertaining to the board itself?
I think so. Nothing
Yeah.
jumps out at me.
Okay. So make sure everyone. Okay, the reason I did this activity is, to be frank, I really hate icebreakers. It's not my favorite. But what I was learning when talking to all of you is that we don't know much about each other, right? And so I really want to put out there and challenge you to, as you go forward, think about how you guys can form just relationships, whether it's forming a team for a Spartan race, right? Or it's talking about how we can do a community garden at maybe one of your children's schools or whatnot, going through Bill and whatnot. But still, like, how can we find commonalities between each other? Because that type of relationship will be seen from the outside in, right? So when you go out to the community, we're like, we need a bond, we need an override, we need to support our students. They see a cohesive governing board who has really good relationships, no matter political leanings or differing ideologies, right? Because we're putting kids first and we're putting the district first. So I challenge you, going forward, maybe go to the homecoming game together, put an open meeting notice up saying, we're gonna have a majority of the board there. Sit together,
Standing one up.
introduce spouses, open meeting law will allow for you to have dinner together, right? There's always the bad guy. It was always me with the state board of ed, and I'm like, you can't talk about that. That is board business. You could talk about kids, you could talk about your skiing adventure, whatever. But what it does is it builds those relationships so that when there is a moment on the dais in which not everyone's going to agree, and it's going to be a 3-2 vote or a 4-1 vote, it doesn't harm the personal relationships that are established, right? And you said it perfectly. You agree.
Without being disagreeable.
Right, you
Disagree without being disagreeable.
disagree without being disagreeable, right? So do that, figure that out. And with the State Board of Ed, how we did that was they made a commitment that they would go to at least 2 sites, so a school site, and because they were the State Board of Ed, they went to charter and district schools, and talked with school teachers, talked with administration, talked with students, but it was really important for them to get out into the community and listen to the people who are doing the job every single day. And they did a wonderful job at holding themselves accountable for that board commitment. You may have a similar commitment later on this evening. It may be something that is further developed through the board and through future board meetings. Okay? Questions? Great. All right. So we're going to move into the second activity on our agenda, which is defining board norms. Within your workbook, there are 5 areas: transparency, communication, confidentiality, role, respect, responsibility, professional development, and continued learning. Once we get going and really start drafting the collective commitments and the norms, the areas might change, and that's fine, that's okay. What you're going to do is you're going to work with your same partner, and you're going to work with your workbook, and on the back is the activity, on the back of your agenda. They'll all have you work with Jackie and Brianna.
Okay,
All right. Do you accept him into your group?
Yes.
Okay.
thank you.
So for each of those identified areas, you're gonna work with your partner to brainstorm. Norms should be positive, actionable, and measurable statements that guide your behavior and interactions. I've provided mathematical equations on how to formulate the best norms. And you can use any one of those 3 examples. Once you and your partner feel like you have a good draft norm, I want you to think about what that actually looks like. Okay, so number 3 on that first activity, activity 2. So my sample statement I gave you is regularly foster open and respectful dialogue among board members during meetings. So an example of that could be recognizing that Jackie just won a baking show and celebrating it publicly, right? Because that was a personal goal of yours and I knew that and I just wanted to take a second and celebrate you. Or it could be that, you know, I didn't agree with what Bill said, but I thank Bill for saying that, bringing a different perspective to the board, and then I move on with which I'm gonna say or whatever, but I do it in a respectful and kind tone, okay? The reason I want you to come up with actions is because when we have examples to things, typically it allows us to understand the norm or commitment better. And it allows for us to define it for ourselves. Okay? You may go and sit wherever you want again. If you want to get cozy and comfy, write some draft norms around those 5 areas. All right. If you don't want to do 5, that's fine too. And I will come and help you.
And we're going individually before we meet as a group and talk about it. Yes, or we're doing.
I want you to work in
Oh, we are doing,
Post-it
okay.
notes, and here's sample ones if you get stuck in.
Okay.
You know you want to see what one looks like.
Do you want me to?
Just here to support it.
Oh, thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Maybe he thought we were gonna hurt you.
So I don't know if you wanted to, I think they're all the same. Just
Oh, I
see.
Examples. but-
Right. So we have to do these norms for these 5 things. Transparency, communication.
Correct, we're looking at those.
Yeah. We did, okay. Action.
Well, what does transparency mean to us, I guess,
Yeah.
as well, is that we're gonna openly communicate
Openly
how we
communicate.
feel and what we think
Mm-hmm.
in a respectful way.
Right.
And transparent is out in the open, it's not behind closed doors.
Right, right.
So I don't know if that,
I'm so used to transparency being called out like from the public. You know what I mean?
Right,
And just because
yeah.
that's always like, all right, I'm being transparent. What other info?
Okay, what is
here's
that?
the budget. What other
Right,
things can we
right.
give you?
Right.
Different
So-
than
so
like
is
us
that it?
within a
Is-
thing, you know,
is-
within.
is that we're willing to be
Willing
open
to
and
be-
share
share.
and, right, and be transparent. Well, right. I'm trying to think. It usually does seem to revolve around budgetary things is when they start talking
Yeah.
about transparency.
Transparency. Yeah, I think for us, the communication
Correct. So
lays in there,
that
right?
Is that a norm that's really more about us being the 6 people working together?
Right.
As opposed to necessarily the transparency
See, to the
outside
public.
of that. Right.
Let's see, do any of these?
Well, and I think when you have good
Question?
communication first, that fosters good transparency.
Yeah, and I
Two.
think we'll inform the staff any significant conversations regarding, just like you reach out to us on anything.
Right.
That's transparency too. Open, so an action verb plus an adjective plus. Okay.
So we were talking about that we often hear the word transparency from our public that we serve.
And transparency is
when
a
it's-
really hard one to start with.
Right,
So
when-
like,
Yeah.
start with role or respect or responsibility.
We were just
Went
going
in
in
order.
order.
Right.
Yeah,
I was too.
yeah. But
They had
we
a
were-
hard time with it.
Because then, the conversation was, are we talking about how the 6 of us work together, that transparency that way? Because that's one type of transparency.
Right?
Or is it,
Transparency to the public.
right,
So
From
going
us.
forward,
Yeah.
right? Let's say you guys just came up with transparency of one another, right? So I'd go up here and I'd write that down, and then my question to you was, okay, well, what does this look like to staff? What does this look like to students? What does this look like to your bowling league?
Right, okay. So it could be, encourage open conversation, even I think for us as a board, like our superintendent's questions that then go out to everybody,
Right.
gives a lot of transparency. With
but that
open
transparency,
dialogue.
that transparency is
Doesn't
bet-
leave
is between us.
Yeah.
And then, what is that, is that the same message that we then communicate out to parents, students, staff?
And you
Yeah.
can start just with those types of questions, right? And then you can even keep it real narrowly focused like that. Of saying, we will be transparent between the board and the superintendent by reading our Friday emails. And the superintendent, we know that the superintendent's gonna put information on it. So then it's my job, the next question is, okay, well then what does that look like with those emails to the public?
Right.
Because through
that
building this,
information?
we can bring a lot of things to the table of, should we be communicating what we receive out? Or should information within that email, would it be more appropriate for the district to send it out instead of one singular board member? So some of these questions will be answered, like kind of like when we discuss it.
Okay.
Well, I guess I have a question that is real-time relevant in under transparency and communication. And I know Jana had mentioned it to you, but the 2 parents that emailed in about the 3rd grade teacher,
Mhm.
and I know you responded. Do we ever
So,
get
right,
to
is
hear
that-
what? I mean, and I say that only because it's kind of like, I don't want to be broadsided or blindsided, either one, later with like a lawsuit. I'm just like
Or
going.
you, or perhaps you also don't want to say something that's necessarily contrary to what
The
our
message
response
that-
was or
right,
what the message was.
right,
Right.
Right.
But on the
So,
one
right.
hand, it would be nice to know, just so there, is an understanding. I mean, I realize we can't.
But you did
change
send out the
anything, but-
letter though too. Was that letter in what went out?
No,
As
that,
a response to
that was
that?
a
That's
second.
something
that
separate.
was, right, that was,
Yeah.
well, there was the first letter that went out.
Yeah.
That then created the responses.
Yes.
Then the second letter went out to the other school that's receiving the teacher.
Yeah.
And then I think we got an email back already on that one of someone concerned, or am I wrong? Or were there only 2?
There were 2 from
I've
the
only seen
initial
2,
one, so
but-
I have not seen
That's probably
any.
all I'm thinking of then.
So in this type of situation, right?
Mhm.
Maybe you as a board member, you're like, I gave it to Bill, I don't need follow-up.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's taken care of.
Yeah.
But maybe you as a board member, you would like just some, hey, took care of it, here's how we took care of it, whatnot, right? Both are fine. Bill needs to know that.
Right.
So what you can do as a board member is you can just say, hey, if I get an email from a parent and I forward it to you and I say, hey, can you look into this for me, or can you, now Bill knows that it's understood that you're gonna wanna follow up. And maybe he calls you, or, you know, he's busy, there's been a ton of stuff going on, you send him a text message, say, hey, you got 5 minutes Tuesday at noon. I would love to follow up on that email. Because then you both know the rules to the game, right? And then no one's left disappointed and no one's left hurt or angry, or, you know. And I had the same issue with the State Board of Ed. And how we kind of solved it was I as a staffer was getting from 11 members one-on-ones all the time, right? And so I'm on the phone at 6 a.m. I'm on the phone at 11 p.m. because they're all volunteer.
Yeah.
So during this session, when we sat down, and theirs is, we will respect the staff's responsibilities and workload. Through there, in that discussion, we discussed, well, what does respecting staff's workload look like? Their concern was we want ample communication. Great. I will give you a staff update every Friday, and in the subject it will say information only, because you have board members who are like, I don't need to read that all the time, I don't need that much. But we have other board members who want to know, right? So information only, maybe this board member, you know, just doesn't read it. That board member will. It says, maybe the next week it says action needed, capital. Everyone knows that that there's something in that email that they have to get back to me, usually like a signature, or they want to they need a response, are you going to go to this conference or whatever. I just need to know. Action requested. It's up to you whether you want to respond, right? But it solved that problem of everyone communicated out their expectations, everyone knew what to expect from me, and then they held their own selves accountable. There's no one to police you, there's no one, you know? If I didn't know, then I'm not meeting certain people's expectations. Does that help clarify?
That helps a lot, yeah.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, I envision the situation of like with this thing, being in the grocery store and having the parent, because I don't always even respond to say acknowledge. Do you?
No.
Okay,
No.
so that was one of my questions.
'Cause that's what it was before of, oh, did you just forward it on to the superintendent? Sometimes I
So
would.
why don't how about this group focus on communication and focus on specifically emails, and see if you can come up with some type of like commitment around just email communications with community members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because I think
I
they
would
still
I sit there
benefit
and,
too.
like, I don't
Yeah.
want to run into somebody and have them say, why are you even on the board? Like, you never acknowledge an email, you never say anything, you never do anything. I want to be able to say, which I do feel confident saying, well, I'm one board member, I don't speak for the board, so it would be inappropriate
Love that. Write that
for
down
me.
and hold that thought.
Yeah.
'Cause we'll talk
But
about
at the
that
same
too.
time, if I know what the official response is, I can not only act intelligent, but back you up too, if that makes any sense.
Well, right.
Yeah.
And for instance, my reply will often start with, we have received and read your email. So that way, and I am assuming at some level that you have received and read the email.
Yeah,
I mean, because
yeah.
the 5 of you were on it.
Right.
So I don't know if that is an action we put into this communication one, that
Yeah.
what that looks like is that we will read
Right.
the emails. It doesn't necessarily mean you are responding,
Right.
but that you will read so you are aware of what's going
And what's
on.
going
And then, you know, many times when there are things that aren't going as smoothly as we would like, you know, we will prepare talking points, you know, in terms of those things. So I don't know if that's something, you know, I mean, I don't have a problem. I can put the replies, like in the Friday updates to things like that, if that's, you know, or if that's something, like she said, if that's something that you want, but maybe not
Right.
I just want to know the rules and what you all want, and then I am happy to
You and me both.
to do the best I can to meet those
Well,
things.
and the communication, like figuring this is gonna kind of check every one of these.
Right.
So I can't-
They do, yeah.
Communication,
And that's kinda why- That's what I say,
transparency,
yeah, communication.
confidentiality, like
Well,
all
even
of
like
that.
the email I sent you about, I'm sure I know you're doing your job, so I'm not trying to like micromanage you and tell you what you need to be doing. I'm only asking because I have a passion about, like,
Right.
let's reach out. Why are these parents enrolling and not attending and that whole thing? And the thing I don't like about email or the written word is the reader puts the context in and then it's like,
100%.
oh, she's being snippy to me. And I know you, I hope you knew I wasn't.
I
but you
did
know
the
what I
same
mean?
thing. I responded to Frank. I was like, I need to call him because hopefully he knows. Like,
Right.
this isn't me snapping at you. This is like my actual.
I know, and I put that sometimes.
Right.
Envision
So
me
hard.
smiling as
I
I'm
know.
responding to this. This
Email's
is why.
so hard.
Or
I
this
love
is
a
this
phone
is
call.
just my free thought that I'm just I'm thinking as I'm
Right.
typing. It's
Yeah,
not right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, how to, but I think communication just changes it for the board, for the public,
I
for.
think so too. Yeah.
Correct. And I will tell you, I
For
spend a lot of
staff,
time
for-
trying to make sure what I'm saying
Oh, I can only
in
imagine.
email comes off the way I intend. And
You just
but
gotta do robocalls. Everybody likes your voice. This is Bill Doza. How can anybody not smile?
right.
Yeah. But okay, so she does have these equations in action. So encourage.
so
Well, they have that.
The action verb is to read. I mean, to read the emails. If,
Yeah,
if we're
read
focusing on
things
emails.
On emails.
And I'd love to say always read. I mean, regularly, I guess.
Oh yeah, that
but,
kind of.
But I'd like to say something like always. You know,
Right.
open and read emails from community members because
Yeah.
it could be parents. I imagine, especially a
Yeah.
high schooler might email you guys. I could see.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if younger ones would, but
We had that, I think, with dress code last year. They were all, when a group was fired up about dress code for a little while, we had some high schoolers email us. Who else? And then just even community members when they hear about different things. So not even parents, but just community members.
so read emails. Is there something about them allowing the district employees to respond and handle? I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, and I don't know. I've seen it where someone has said, I've received and read your email. Is there a line to come up with about? I've received and read your email.
Right.
Someone from the district, will be following up, or something that.
Right.
If there's that need to have that acknowledgement, or you feel that, as opposed to, or is it just that we know we're going to read them, and because we are going to respond either way.
Yes,
Right.
yes, right.
I know you guys. At first, I mean, this is all of 8 months. At first, I didn't respond to any of them, and then a couple of them I responded to from parents, just basically saying that,
Right.
just acknowledging that I did receive your email,
Same,
and I'm
especially
aware.
if they like sent it twice.
Right, because
Like,
again,
that's
like I don't want,
you know,
I don't
or
want
sent a
anybody to
follow-up.
think, well, you just really
Nobody's
don't
listening.
even care, you don't even respond, because it kind of seems that way when it's like
Yeah.
crickets.
Do you all have at least one or two we wills down?
No.
Okay.
But
We're working on it right
we
now.
can do it right
Perfect.
now.
Try to get like 2 or 3.
Okay.
You'll still get an A if there's just 2.
Okay, good.
We can
And then
do
once
it,
we
yeah.
have that, we're gonna take a break and switch partners, and then keep working to.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's see. We will read all emails.
That's exactly what then I have from our community.
From our community.
Although I guess I don't know, or we'll probably read them even if they're not from our community. Just
We will read concerns are addressed. You can be pretty vague.
So the concerns are addressed. And
Yeah.
do we want to have a bye? So the concerns are addressed by the best person.
From the district?
Well,
Yeah, I know, because it's like,
well,
okay,
because
that
it-
actually falls
well-
under HR, that falls under.
well, but
you
it
know.
also could be the principal.
Right,
Like
right.
it doesn't necessarily. It actually could be a teacher. I mean, we would
Right.
love for things to get fixed at the
At
lowest,
the lowest level, sure,
possible.
right,
Right.
right.
All right, let's take
So
about
that
2 more minutes and
concerns
try to get those 2 or 3
can be addressed by the most
legal
appropriate
statements done.
Employee or the most important.
Yeah.
The most not important, most appropriate.
Most appropriate, yeah. Those are addressed. Addressed by appropriate staff member. I don't know.
We may get a chance to continue to wordsmith with more brains.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
I mean, I even like this last one with communication, something along the line, like, we will inform the staff of any significant conversations regarding the district.
Right.
Like, just, if you hear something, I want you to tell us so we
Yeah.
can,
Mhm.
because if
Right.
we don't know, we can't do anything.
Right, right.
So even,
Yeah, I always like, hey, FYI.
right.
All right, go ahead and wrap up that thought or that last sentence. Does anyone need a break or can we keep going? Do you need a break? Nope, you're good. Okay, so I will ask Brianna if you'll go, Janet, Jeff, if you'll go, Jackie.
Alrighty.
Bill, you just sit there.
Yes, ma'am.
You just stay
Yes, ma'am.
right there.
Same thing. So work with a new partner, come up, because everyone's gonna have different viewpoints on commitments.
So maybe find a different area, one of the 5 areas that you haven't talked about yet. I don't know if anyone touched on role, like what is a role of a board member?
I would love to touch on that.
Yeah.
Oversight versus management versus day-to-day operations.
I mean, so that was one of my comments on here is that I am still learning, when it asked about how would you rate overall effectiveness, governance, all of that, is that I am still learning, and then I thought, as are we, as a collective in terms of that, but, when I talk with other superintendents, when I go to these different trainings for new superintendents and things, they talk about, a board's role really being kind of threefold, and that's budget oversight and managing, the money, policy, being over policy and making policy decisions and determinations and changes and updates, and then me, and then the superintendent. Like, that's kind of the 3 legs of responsibility. And then I sit and listen to that also, and I'm like, well, that's fine and good. But this is a small community, so there seems to be more than that. And I don't know that that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all. So I think it would be really hard for the board in our community here to be, these are my things, and So then it comes down to, okay, so when you get into the weeds, then maybe that goes back to the communication. How do you communicate that? How do you navigate those things? I don't know what those are just my thoughts around it anyway.
You know, as I see it, I mean, the role is to understand that, like I told Janet, you're only a part of the big entity. You have to kind of keep that in mind, that, this is not your show. This is everybody's. So you have to bring, your role is to bring your knowledge and your passion and your ideas to what you're doing within those guidelines, but also find your niche where you find something that's really important, and then advocate for that. For me, I think being a current teacher in the classroom gives me a perspective that nobody else on this board has. And so it's my role to at least, bring that up, and there's something that I think is important to that. I'm not exactly sure how to say this as a norm, but
Well, I
Well, I think you've said the role is to represent diverse groups, so that's one of the groups in the district, and the district has lots of groups. I mean, there's students, and I think I've heard from everybody here that that's the most important one. But then teachers, and you can't be good for students if you don't take care of the teachers. So that goes. Then there's parents, then there's community. I mean, so right, and acknowledging that all of those are important and have a role. And how do you best represent all of them and take the interests of all of them? Sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I, just even coming back to role in a general sense, I think I shared this with you, but I met with Danny from Harold's right after the holidays, right after the election, everything else. He wanted to get together and get to know me better and blah, 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 and, all the work that he had done. And he said to me, like, one of the first questions, which is what we've heard a lot, is, so what are you going to do to get the teachers paid more? And I said, that's a great question, but I said to him, Danny, do you understand how a school board works? And he goes, no, not really. And I said, well, you know what? Neither did I until I was on it, really. Everybody off the school board has this vision that we all get together and sit around and we open up the budget and we look at this and we do all this, and I said it doesn't work anything like that. I mean, we are kind of sitting in the dark to some extent, trusting the superintendent, trusting Marcy's role, trusting the experts that have been brought in to piece a budget together to put all of that and have the best interests of the teachers and everything. And he was blown away, like he had no idea really and truly what went into the board and getting the teachers paid more. He said it's not as easy as just saying pay the teachers more. Who does not want to do that? I think everybody would love to do that more than anything. They work hard, getting second jobs. I know Alicia and I talked about, like, when you were a teacher and had 2 jobs or 5 jobs or however many, just to make ends meet and that kind of thing. So just even defining for the community what a board actually does, and then how we can best serve them, how we can best listen to them, and how important their role is too in doing more than just fire off emails.
Well, and
when
it
they're
sounds
not
like even acknowledging that when you're sitting there having this meeting with Danny, like, you're one board member, you're not here, there's not a whole lot, and you don't really have power without being here in this setting and with everybody in that, and that may be an educational piece as well.
Jeff, did you guys do anything about like community over there?
yeah.
And you guys didn't, right? In the first session? Or the first, so
No,
maybe focus
we were-
on like community, right? And what it we will, as board members, what does that look like? But you're trying to match we as board members and community, like what's in the middle of that phrase?
Yeah.
Because what happens with community and whatever happens with that collective commitment when you guys go to do strategic planning or you have a bond and override, you build off of that, right? So if it's we engage with the community, we invite the community in, we have productive conversation, whatever that looks like, it helps you formulate a strategic plan for that going forward. Right? Like your example with teachers' pay. Let's get the businesses in, let's figure out how that works, but we have to have a general understanding of what the rules are first.
Yeah. Look for how's this kind of things that will I forgot what it was. We will
Well, I'm spitballing, and I
Yeah,
mean, we
go
will
ahead.
engage with our community, and then why? Why are we engaging with our community? To support our schools, our students. Because that also leaves it open how you do it and what the reason is behind it, as long as we're committed to, we are willing to do it, and it's going to be because it's going to be something positive. And again, I don't know if we say kids, schools, because if we say kids, to me that actually involves teachers. I mean that ultimately hits everybody. That involves their buildings, in my mind. But maybe it's better to spell all those things out as well.
you engage with the community to
Provide the best educational experience.
I guess the part with engaging with the community is that you want to kind of increase the buy-in you know, for the district. I mean, having the override fail by 6,000 votes is they're not engaged enough.
So do we say that we will engage with our community in order to increase their buy-in?
Yeah.
Like,
And the buy-in and I don't know if I want to say respect for the district, but you know, the understanding of the district's role in the community. I mean, sometimes it kind of blows me away that you know, people don't take that seriously enough here. I mean, the district is a big part of this, and we're putting out these students that are hopefully going to improve our community. So that would be a big deal.
I think I got most of what you said, but then I'm struggling. I struggled. So we will engage with our community to increase their buy-in to the school district and its importance to the community. And I heard buy-in, and then I don't know what I nailed it, but that was.
Yeah, and it's we will engage with the community to increase their buy-in
And recognize the district's importance to the community.
Yeah, I don't know, it seems like it's kind of a big deal to me.
Well, you know, I'm on the Cave Creek Carefree Chamber of Commerce.
I was curious how that went.
And being new, and I asked a question because I'm ex officio, so I'm not a voting member and all of that, but because of the role that I have, and what they acknowledge is that in this community, we're the largest employer. Like, our school district is the largest employer in the Cave Creek and Carefree community.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Just from a number of people who work here, and all, you know, so.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so that, like, I was like, okay, aha, you know, there was one of those things, you know, so there again kind of speaks, Jeff, to what you said in terms of, you know, recognizing the district's importance and place in the district. And I don't know if any of us, I never thought about that before
I would have never
someone
thought
told.
of that.
Correct.
I don't know who I
You
would
know?
have thought of if somebody would have asked me, but I wouldn't have ever thought of the district. That's funny.
But other than that, it's been fabulous. I got to go down to Chandler, and we had 6 mayors from the various towns in the East Valley Chamber of Commerce, and got to listen to them and their priorities, and it was really neat. And our struggles are city struggles. I sat there listening to the mayors talking about what they're struggling with for affordable housing, different things, and it's like, yeah, we're struggling with that for teachers. Teachers, it's tough to live up here if you're a teacher.
Yeah, it is.
Just so those types of things, and how many things were very similar in terms of what, and therefore how closely tied are cities to their school districts to all of those things. So, and I think we're very fortunate. We have 2 wonderful mayors up here who are really working together. In terms of Cave Creek and Carefree not being together. So,
How about this for roll? I just wrote this down.
Yeah.
We can brainstorm this however we want. But we will bring our knowledge and perspectives to the board as part of, we will bring our knowledge and perspective as a part of the entity that is the board. Understanding.
So the role, well, and I think, but what I heard from all of you as well, there was another word, not just what we will bring our knowledge and
Perspective.
Passion was something I heard for all of you guys too. So, and I talked about this before. Passion to me is contagious, and somebody with passion, that's what people cling on to and hold on to. And so if you're coming after something with passion, again, if we wanted to talk about elections or those types of things, but even whatever it is, passion is contagious. That explodes into enthusiasm. That's how things get going, get momentum, and get done. So I would just want to add passion, because I've heard that from all of you guys as well, to that.
You got community?
Passion, perspective. Well, I've got one about, and I don't know if you've got, I saw you, but I've got, we will engage with our community to increase their buy-in to the school district and recognize the district's importance to the community, and it needs to be fixed, but
There's
that's
a lot
kind
of
of
community.
there's a lot of community in there.
It's okay. So you got one?
2.
You two? Great.
We got
When we did the thing for the role, we will bring our knowledge, passion, and perspective as part of the entire entity.
I like that because you guys definitely all have very unique knowledge bases that can serve the district, right? Like if it's construction based, teacher, classroom based, we got you. Nutrition based, HR based. I'm not sure what Mr. Brown does, but
Yeah.
experts. All right, let's try to wrap it up in the next 30 seconds, and then we're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay. So we'll take a break at 7:20, and we'll reconvene at 7:25.
To fulfill our role.
In the role?
Yeah, and to fulfill our role, or
To fulfill our role on the board.
right.
Okay. We will bring our knowledge, passion, and perspective to fulfill our role on the board.
I don't know. I think we'll get to Smith him a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think we will too. Yeah.
Speaking of, can you hear me some?
Hand you some.
Everyone's with me.
That one.
What yours has girls, so it's not that different.
Does anybody need a water, a snack of any type?
Responsibility.
Thank you.
Respect and confidentiality.
Ooh, confident, yeah, I like that. Thank you.
There's snacks in there, Jeff, there's fruit and some in there, yep. No, I'm just getting the big ideas. Jeff, there's also a whole box of caramel cookies in there.
What?
Alicia brought them.
Sorry, what?
I don't know if Jeff brought sources or forces, but it could be Star Wars. Not.
You took a self-imposed banishment.
My conversation. Didn't make stuff together.
Ah. Some achievers up there.
Yeah, I don't know how to get in there.
Jeff opened up the crumble cookies and stepped them in half. Ooh.
And Brianna's daughter's having a piece of fruit while the.
You're a better man than I cannot even, I won't
Someone
even
had
do a
to do
quarter, because,
Oh, I got to. I got the blueberry, man.
ooh,
I'm gonna take one home
Yeah.
wow.
for tomorrow.
Yeah, I was like, maybe if I get out of here in time, I can stop and get something on the way home. Or on the way here. But nope.
Wasn't happening.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a huge mess, you know what I'm gonna do.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
You get your own stash.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to put
coffee?
No, thank you.
Have you seen the cookies? The crumble one?
Well, I did actually open this box.
Okay.
We had a box delivered yesterday that
Oh,
I did look
nice.
at, and that was quite lovely.
Did you just look?
I just looked.
Okay, I'm just
so
checking.
my downfalls are pies, cobblers, and crisps. Those I have a really hard time saying no to. Anything else, and I'm not a cake person.
Which flavor
Of what?
pies?
Crumbles and crisp, do you like
Yeah.
apple or like berries?
Apple.
So cherry pie, a peach blueberry is probably my favorite cobbler.
Yeah.
Of
Could I see?
apple crisps.
I love apple. Thank you.
Right.
Okay. You can read my handwriting?
Oh, yes, very nice.
So apple crisp,
Yeah.
blueberry peach cobbler, cherry pie.
Cherry pie. Okay.
Now we know.
I like those things too. More than cakes.
Yeah, I just am not a big chocolate person.
See, I
But
was
you-
just gonna say chocolate, or chocolate.
See, but like once a year, I will have okay, I'm eating
Like
chocolate
once a day.
Right.
I like
Noth-
dark-
there is nothing wrong with
I like
that.
dark chocolate.
I do too.
Yeah.
Chocolate is okay, but it gets, it's like
What did
too much of it.
I saw something about like there was no chocolate with the dinosaurs and see what happened to them.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Something like that.
They're not wrong.
My first year at Sonoran Trails, I was teaching math, special ed math, and it was Pie Day, And
I
one of-
remember it fondly.
One of my students brought in a chocolate pie for us, and I was like, this is amazing, but we don't have anything to eat it with, so we just have to do this the right way. And so we just dove in. It was hysterical.
At the high school, the teacher had the funniest pie. Oh yeah, it said Math Club Pirates on the wall.
Oh,
and they used the
cute.
pie symbol. But I was like, oh man, that's so funny.
Well, did you know a peach pie in Jamaica is $1, and what is it, a pumpkin pie in Haiti is like $1.50? Those are the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
It's a dad joke
That's
I
a
read
good dad
recently.
joke. I
It is
tell
a
that to
good dad
Brandon.
joke.
Brandon loves them. Yeah. Was it the Pirates?
The Pirates of the
in-
Caribbean.
In math class. I love the curriculum nights. So you can see meet the teachers, but you have to walk their schedule. This year, Elliot's classes make sense. Last year, it was like this, that, and this, and that, and I'm like, I can't even barely get there on time. And they
We
time it
promote
the same.
a healthy existence, so you
Yeah.
know, get your
Get your
steps in.
steps.
Gotta get
Yeah.
those steps in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was funny. Lots of comments last night about I don't know how my kid actually makes it on
Makes it
time.
from, yeah, exactly. I was saying that.
All right. We are back on at 7:29 p.m. So, this is activity 2. So as a whole group, what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the draft commitments that we made. And what I'm really looking for, do we need to wordsmith it? Is there a discussion on what that commitment means to you? And I might call on you, I might throw you under the bus, or I might give you an example from just my personal experience to help you recognize and align it to yourself in your actions. Okay. So for the first one, these 3 fell under respect. We will positively, and please don't judge my spelling, it is atrocious. I'm a whole language kid, I cannot sound anything out. We will positively acknowledge others' comments and ideas. We will promote the board on and off the dais. We will bring value to the district by active listening. So take a second and see, do you feel as if the board needs all 3, or can the thoughts behind all three of those be incorporated into one?
I can see it as one.
How so, Jackie?
Well, we will bring value to the district by starting with active listening, then positively acknowledging others' comments and ideas, and promote the board on and off the dais. I would say number 3 is
So
1.
like comma,
Well, start with that, and then number 1 is 2,
Yeah.
and then number 2 is 3.
what if I put comma and then put this? While
Yeah.
Yeah.
promoting? And therefore everything's kind of like INGing, so it's actions.
Mm-hmm.
So we will bring value to the district by actively listening. Do we want it to each other, to all, or are you fine with just listening?
How about,
I think if we understand, when you ask us, what does that mean or look like, then we say, well, that is listening to each other,
each other.
to our community.
It's
To-
the
To
whole thing.
stakeholders.
It's
Right,
not,
it's-
not just here.
To everyone that we're accountable to.
It's to the people speaking to us, it's to each other during the conversations. It's the stuff that you get in communication beforehand. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I think it needs to just stay
Just
actively listening.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
And it could almost bring value to the district by actively listening. Let's see.
So we will bring value to the district by actively listening,
Acknowledging others.
Acknowledge.
positively acknowledging others' comments and ideas, while promoting the board on and off the dais. Or we can take this off and put in a positive manner.
And I think that we need that first part.
You need the first positive?
Yeah, well, that whole thing needs to be, it's kind of the whole idea of the respect, so.
Okay.
I go both ways on this. That first one, it's almost like it's a separate thing because that's very specific
Yeah.
to our board meeting. You know, or at least that's the way.
doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't have to be. That's why I said I can, see both sides of this.
Yeah.
You know, when we were coming up with that, it was specific to how we interact with each
Yeah,
other.
on the,
But in a more global look at it, it's how we interact with everybody. And so it's,
Great, because I could see that you're, at the gym, working on your Spartan race time. And
throwing my bucket of rocks.
Susan comes over to you and has different ideas. You can positively acknowledge Susan.
Exactly, and I think it's good that it's global. We just can't forget about the local.
yes. Yeah.
That's what you think.
It's a lot, but
It's a lot.
I don't think it's,
At this time, do you need a lot?
bring value to the district.
How do you define value?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
It's a lot and still could be too vague in some areas.
Yeah.
These are all our, what did you call these?
Commitments.
Our commitments. We will bring value to the district, ... We will positively acknowledge others. We will positively promote the board on and off the dais. We will respect the rules of keeping, board issues, whatever.
And do we want to keep,
You know,
do we want to make one big one, or do we want to keep these three?
And if bring value is the issue, is it, we will actively listen, positively acknowledge others' comments and ideas, and promote the board on and off the dais. And then it
How about
becomes-
promote the board and the district?
is the common thread through all of these just about the board, or is it about the board and the community?
Both.
Okay. So then,
Because there shouldn't be, you can choose
well, that's my
to
question.
be
You know,
one
what-
way on the board and one way
Yeah.
in the community or with district folk. But it's better for the district and for the entity of the local governing board.
And I think that's where there's a big disconnect,
Yeah, because
that it is different.
It is different. And, you know, because one of the concerns that I have always had is, okay, we have a 3-2 vote on whatever. One or two of the two voters go home and start talking down this vote. Well, they may not post something on social media, but some other random keyboard warrior will. And all that does is it throws a wedge in what we're trying to do. So
Divide.
it does, and it's like a third party divider. It's not.
Well, sure, because you
Yeah.
have a teacher who comes in, right? Is more than likely going to watch a board meeting or at least talk to someone within the district. And I've been that teacher in a local governing boardroom and the administrator in a local governing boardroom, and the governing board is dysfunctional. And you sit there and you're like, you ask yourself, why do I come to school every day and give 12, 14 hours of my life every day? And these are the people who should be leading, and they're arguing, they're saying nasty things to one another, they're saying nasty things about us.
And that does nothing to promote going forward. I mean, all of us here, we're here for the exact same reasons, to promote the achievement, the kids, the teachers, the classroom, this district. And so, you know, all of these play into that, you know, and, you know, we can look at it from a micro look for us, and then the macro look. How is it then spill into the community, what we do here? We are the leaders of the district, so we lead by example. And, you know, listening is not just listening to, you know, Susie at Safeway. It's listening to each other.
So would it be beneficial if we will lead by example by actively listening, positively acknowledging, positively promoting the boarding district? Because your school community, your district, right? So all of this whole thing comes from PLCs, professional learning communities. And so I'm sure the district staff is doing it, administrators are doing it with their schools, teachers are doing it with their grade level teams. So you are setting an example of
I would
Teachers
see-
do
I
it
would
with their
turn it
kids.
around, and I would say we will promote the district and the board by leading by example, by doing these other things. Because, you know, our focus is on the board and the community.
Right.
So what are we doing to promote the relationship between board and community, and the relationship between ourselves?
We will positively promote the district and board
By, boom, whatever the bullet points are.
leading
By,
leading by example.
yeah, writer to
Yep.
just say that again, please, both of you.
we will promote the board and the district.
And the district
by board in the district, ... And then our bullet points are, we will lead by example, we will actively support the board on and off the dais.
Lead by positive example?
Yeah.
Positive example.
And,
I think you lead by example, whether it's positive or not is the choice we make.
Right, and to remind, yeah, you're right. Some of these that's where you take ownership of them. It's your choice. You get to choose how you show up. And then you get to ask yourself, am I meeting that commitment? Lead by positive example.
whatever the other
Actively
ones-
listening.
actively listening and promoting the board off and on the diet, on and off the dais.
Promote board and
What
district.
about positively acknowledging others' comments and
Comments.
ideas?
Yeah.
So we will promote.
That's sort of like, I look at it as sort of like the topic for what we're
How we're
do.
gonna promote the board and district.
Well, our goal is promoting the board and the district in a positive light. And we're gonna do that, you know, ourselves. We're gonna respectfully listen, actively listen to each other. We're gonna actively listen to our community members. We're gonna acknowledge in a positive way, you know, even though you disagree with what color widgets they should be. I'm gonna acknowledge that she had a good point, and I'm gonna do it sincerely. I'm not gonna just say it to say it.
Are we promoting the board and district, or are we portraying? Because it's what you just said, it sounded like you were talking about how we want to portray the district and the board in a positive light, as opposed to
Yeah, I guess how do, we
promoting.
don't really
We
need
want to promote.
Represent.
Represent.
Yeah.
is a
We will
good word.
represent the
Right.
board and district.
Represent?
Represent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good word.
So we will represent
I
the
like
board
portray,
and
but I keep
district
thinking
by.
of in the old days with soap operas.
Leading by
Today, the
positive
lead
example.
character will be
Leading by
portrayed
positive
by.
example,
Actively.
actively listening, and acknowledging others' comments and ideas.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna pause there. We'll move on to the next one, so we can
Yeah.
refresh our mind, and then we come back to it. All right, so for confidentiality, we will respect the rules of keeping board issues confidential by not sharing outside, was it sources or forces?
You can't read my writing, is that what you're saying?
I didn't know if we were going like Star Wars, or it just wasn't,
Well, you know, I did say may the force be with you.
Forces?
Yeah, it was
Forces?
Okay. But yeah, I think maybe sources would be better.
Well, forces might also be appropriate.
What is,
Well,
what
and
is
that's-
this one really getting at?
Well,
I'll tell you
know,
what I think it's getting at, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But through story. A couple years back, there was a state board member who would take very confidential state board matters and go to state legislators and have private conversations outside of the state board established legislative committee. Which then, what would happen is myself or my deputy director would get called in by, we'll just say Sylvia Allen, who was the chair of the Senate Ed Committee at the time, and want to say, why is the State Board of Education doing X, Y, Z? And we'd have to explain to her that the state board wasn't doing X, Y, Z, and that that member had come down and talked about X, Y, Z, and they're just a member of the board, and the board hasn't taken action on it. And it put us as staffers in a really curious situation, because it is a unwritten rule. We do not speak illy of board members. A board member is also the superintendent of public instruction, right? So
any given day of the week, someone has something to say about that elected official. We can't speak illy of the board member who stepped out of bounds and came, right? But now we have a problem because we have to try to explain to the Senate Ed Chair, the board really doesn't want to do that, and explain to her why. And we have to hope that that board member doesn't go to Twitter or the news or whatnot, which had been happening. So that's where you'll see, like, we are ambassadors of the board by respecting the board's positions and pending issues when meeting with stakeholders, right? And that includes confidentiality. So back to my question to you. Does that commitment address, I don't know who came up with that, does it address what you were trying to address?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that was the one we were talking about, right? And it's just, you know, you being on the board, you are privy to certain pieces of information, and sometimes you're told flat out, this is confidential, don't share this anywhere. And if you do with somebody, and it might not, you know, you might think it's an innocuous thing, kind of like what you said, it's not, or what Janet said, it might not be the person you're talking to that does it, but that person goes and tells somebody, and then all of a sudden, something is getting out there that really shouldn't have been out there. So if you, I mean, that seems like, you know, straight up to me, I mean, it's part of the job, so I don't know, do you need to have this in there at all, or is it just a given that you have to do this? So I don't even know if it's necessary, but because I mean, it's just, I don't know, I'm saying the same thing over and over
When you
again.
say the rules, are you talking about executive session?
No, I'm talking about, you know, if we get stuff like, well, you know, there was a thing a while back with something with where the lawyer said this is confidential about the superintendent. I don't remember what the specifics were, but it says do not share.
Right.
And so it's like, well, duh. You know, I wouldn't have thought of sharing it anyway.
Right,
You know?
because
So
it's personnel matters.
yeah, so
It can only be discussed in a section.
so that, you know, that wasn't brought up out in the dais or anything. It wasn't brought up in executive session, or maybe you know, eventually might have been. But the thing was, you know, you don't do it. So that's kind of the, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at there.
What about if it was added in there respecting the sensitive nature of some of the things that are discussed?
Yeah.
Because there are some things that, you know, if they're discussed in executive session,
I
which,
mean,
as you're saying, should
that
be a no-brainer, we don't talk about
yeah,
that.
you're not.
But
And anything on the meeting is recorded.
We could have
I
an
don't know.
executive session about an expulsion. Okay. So you get maybe mom, dad, the kid, maybe mom and dad brought a lawyer, whatever, and you might hear a heartbreaking story that just, you know, rips your heart out, and the student might end up expelled. But we can't go out and have a conversation with somebody about why you think it was right or wrong, because that was an executive session. And beyond that, it's about a kid. And, you know, put yourself in that parent's shoes. Would you want somebody walking out talking about your kid after, you know, he or she was expelled?
And it can be as simple as you get a community member email, forward it to Bill, because he's going to handle that for you. Going out and talking to someone about that email, and now you're sharing the kid's first and last name and maybe disabilities and all that stuff, and that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, at a very elementary sense, you know, think about it from your perspective as a parent.
Yeah.
Has this district and or the board in the past had an issue with this? I'm kind of with you, so I think, in that it's like, do we really even need this in there? It's common sense, and what does our oath say?
In years past, there have been
It seems
And
like a
this
few-
group, I
been
think,
like
kind of
two
gets
and a
it.
half. Yeah, I felt like it maybe a couple times since I've been on the board. I've been like, how did that information get out?
Okay.
But and I can't think of anything specific right now. But
Yeah,
I have thought
I
that
can
before.
give-
Like, how did that get out?
It's
Yeah.
not so much that,
know?
sometimes it got out, but I'm gonna, a thing before I got elected, I was sitting out here every single time. And sometimes I was the only person out there for, for the whole
It's a
thing.
different perspective when
It
you're
is.
sitting there
It is.
and you're
It
sitting up
is.
there.
And
Totally is.
there was the thing with our previous associate superintendent. And you had to have an executive session about it. And decisions were made in there and they did not go over well with certain people. And so even as just a candidate at the time, I was getting yelled at for what was going on in there, and it's like, wait a minute,
I'm guilty by
number one,
association.
they didn't invite me into the executive session because I'm running for board, and number two, you're making some assumptions here based on that, and they can't tell you
Right.
stuff. So,
Right.
So
I think it's what, a felony?
so I don't know. I mean, how?
Because we will respect the sensitive nature of the material we're privy to, or the information
That's a
we're
kind
That's
of
good.
good
That's
one.
good.
Yeah.
That's a
Respect the
good-
sensitive nature of the, come on, help me out.
the information we're
We're
privy
privy
to,
to.
or
Yeah.
And seek guidance if we're unsure.
And that's a good one.
Seek,
Yeah,
seek
excellent.
clarification, seek, Jackie, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, either one of those. Clarification, guidance. Or the good old, if you have to think twice, you probably shouldn't do it.
Okay, Bill, I'm gonna have you repeat that for me. Respect sensitive nature.
of the,
Respect the sensitive nature of the information we're privy to and seek guidance / clarification if we are unsure.
Thank you.
it's amazing how I'm a ventriloquist.
Bill, your voice changed. Julia and Bill?
It even sounds like Julia.
You know, I still didn't get it even though she repeated
Exact
it.
stuff.
Respect. We will respect the sensitive nature of the information we're privy to and seek clarification / guidance when necessary.
Yeah.
Thumbs
That's
up?
good. Mhm.
Sideways,
Okay.
down? I forgot
Thumbs
my
up.
keys. Okay. All right. So I like that. Communication. So we had two around communication. We will read emails from community, we read emails from the community. So that concerns may be addressed by appropriate staff. And second one, we will inform staff of any significant conversations regarding the district. So, do we need two? Can we combine them? Do we not even need this? Do we need this?
Well,
I
have a
think we're
que-
pretty
I have a
good
question.
at getting information to the district
Yeah,
when we see
for the most
concerns.
part. And
You know what I mean?
here's the question, it might be like a devil's advocate. All of us, some of us will get emails from different people. And generally, they're forwarded to whoever in the district office. We never respond to them.
Yeah.
Is that viewed as we're totally ignoring you?
See, that's
Yeah,
the
that
same
was
thing
our-
we talked
we talked-
about.
And
Yeah, that
so
was
I
our-
think it
we
is
ha-
viewed that way.
So do
Yeah.
we have one response and one person is responsible for acknowledging the emails to the board? Now, if, it's like you two get an email, well, that's a different
then the
story,
rest
but
of
if all
it, yeah.
5 of us get an email, does one person say, thank you, and we're going to
Forward this.
this to the appropriate parties?
The thing with that is, and I'm just still running into it because we just had a couple, today about the thing at Horseshoe Trails. When Bill is put on it, I can't say thank you for it. I'll forward it on to Bill because it's like, well, I mean,
Well, I
you can see
know.
that I did it. So I'm not sure what to do with those either. Sometimes I say thank you for it. Or I know somebody's looking into it, but that's that's all you can really say. I think it's still, but they do like to get to hear that.
Yeah.
Sometimes
So-
you'll get a
so
thing back
do
saying,
they-
thank you
Oh,
for.
thank you.
I've done it
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
times.
So. do
Sometimes I
we-
haven't and sometimes I've had, just nothing
Same.
more than just
Yeah.
exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Thank you for,
So is
just
there a norm to
acknowledging.
develop about this is our
Auto
response?
response.
You know, do
sort
we
of
have an
thing.
auto response, and who's the auto response from?
If, you know,
Or
if they,
everybody.
if I look on all those emails and I look to see, is the superintendent copied on it? If he's not, then it's
Then
easy,
move forward.
Yeah.
you know?
So we can agree on that.
Yeah.
If we get an
Yeah.
email, the superintendent's not on it, is that the appropriate channel that works for you though?
Well, because then
Absolutely.
he
Okay.
would take it to the right.
Right?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the first thing, so
Which almost is this, even
Yeah.
though the conversation may be electronic as opposed to in person.
right.
Right.
Okay, so we know that if it's individual, they'll go to Bill. What works best for you? And I'm asking Bill this because this happened to me, right? And it was agreed upon that the members would not respond, and I would say something like, "Thank you for your email. Members have received it. Please communicate with me going forward. I'm going to be your direct contact, and we're going to figure this out together," type of thing. You
But
can
they
have,
did not get that. Like you responded to the person.
correct, because here's where open meeting law comes
Right.
in.
Yeah.
So the community is not going to recognize that they shouldn't technically be putting you all in a two line, right?
Right.
So you run the risk as a board member of if you accidentally hit reply all, that could be seen as an open meeting
meeting.
law violation. So it's kind of your choice, but it's your choice as you all agree upon it, and or you can decide to do it differently. But I would recommend that you don't say anything unless you are certain that you are just directly responding to that person, and it should only be something like, "Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I see that the superintendent is on this email. Have a good day."
Do we all respond like that?
I think we
But
should.
here's
I
the
think
thing,
you should
I
be
think
able
so
to.
too.
If you don't, because you're not going to know, right?
Yeah.
And you do want some type of response, but you are also in a leadership position, so the board can also make an agreement, a collective commitment, a general understanding that if the superintendent and the board president are on the email with everyone else, the board president is going to say thank you on behalf of the board.
We have read and received your email.
I get that, but then you still run that, they don't know that. You know, and so then they're still gonna be, you know, we've seen the emails, or I sent this thing and nobody responded to it.
Exactly.
Right.
You know,
That's
you know,
the thing. Okay,
Because
we're not
with the
Mason,
lack of
we're not the
information, they write their own
smallest
information. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
when
Yeah.
there's a lack of.
Yeah.
So, but if you give them something, you know,
So what do we do?
so I think, you know, if, you know, hey, you wrote to the board, so if you get 5 thank yous back, well, that's,
So we can just acknowledge receipt.
Acknowledge receipt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then at least people feel heard. They may not be happy with the ultimate outcome, but
Well,
they're
okay,
acknowledged.
That's
Let's-
important.
they're
So
acknowledged.
Let's play through that,
Yeah.
right? Let's say I get an acknowledged receipt from you. I'm going to be the community member. Well, that was a horrible response. I can see, you know, you be you, but I'm a you now. Okay. I can see how you are upset with my response. However, we as a board have agreed to allow for our superintendent to handle this. If you don't hear something from superintendent in 2 weeks, please let me know.
I have done that in the past.
Right.
That was, you know, that was something that we had heard about our previous superintendent, is sometimes they weren't getting back. So, you know, like, hey, if you don't hear anything, you know,
Let me know.
let me know and I'll
Right.
follow up. So, I
Right.
mean, you can do that.
Now, let's say I'm still angry. And now I go to Jana and I say, hey, this is what happened with Jackie. You're going to say,
That's actually our board norm. That's how we do things with emails, so that is correct. And please let me know if you don't hear anything in 2 weeks' time. And that way, you're all swimming in the same direction. You're all keeping the boat upright, right?
Mhm.
And maybe you two see each other at a cafe and you're like, did you get that email? Yeah, Bill's handling it. So does that sound like that's something you want to do?
Yeah.
I
I think
you know,
people just like
this is a
acknowledgement.
small enough community that
And small enough amount of emails that people
yeah,
send to
I mean,
us.
Right.
it's
We
you
don't
know
really
one of the
get that
things
many.
that we're trying to
You know,
do.
there's not.
I'm still listening to you while
Well,
I
one of the
I know
things
you get a bunch,
Yeah.
but for
we're
us,
trying to do is restore the down home feeling to Cave
Yeah.
Creek, and ignoring, putting people on ignore doesn't do that. You know, our community as a whole, they're important people. They're an important piece to the success of what we're trying to do. So, you know.
And I would be very appreciative if part of your message would include the piece that's in the other one about being addressed by the appropriate staff.
Staff.
Yes.
It may not be
You.
me they
Right.
need to talk to.
right.
Again, we prefer things to be handled at the lowest level.
Yeah.
You know, so, and I
Your
think.
teachers, you talk to your principal.
Correct, and I
Let's
think
change that to next highest level from lowest.
Well,
I know what you mean. I'm
right,
just,
at the.
We did the same thing. I mean,
You know what I
we
mean.
get phone calls.
Right.
don't make them lowly. No.
You know, a parent has issues with a teacher, and they want
They
to
want to
talk
to the
state
superintendent.
board of ed.
Yeah.
They want to talk to Channel 12. Have you gone and spoken with the assistant principal, district associate superintendent over student services, superintendent? Have you sent an email to the board president? Have you sent an email to the board member?
Yeah.
And so I personally loved those phone calls because it was like a highlight of my day because I felt like I was doing something,
Yeah.
helping people.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, I would go above and beyond. I'd be like, here's the website for the district. Here's the school website. Here's the email for this person. Here's the phone number. Here's the address. And I would go down and then I would give them explicit instructions. Here's how the system works. Because
Right.
a lot of times people are just upset or confused, not clearly communicated to, and they just want someone to help them, right?
Well,
But
one of the issues that, I don't know that happens a lot, but a parent's upset because little Joey, whatever the issue is, and they may have talked to the teacher, didn't get the responses they wanted. So, well, Joey's mom is a friend of mine, so first thing Joey's mom does when she didn't get the responses, I'm calling Janet.
I'm calling the board member.
Yeah, she's a board member. You
well,
know.
and so that too is.
Did any of you, did you come on and think like, oh, it's a little more bureaucratic than I thought it was going to be? Anyone?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely a bunch of that, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes, yeah, it's really bureaucratic, and then that's when you really have to trust, like, your staff.
Oh, yeah, oh,
You know?
definitely. I mean,
For
anytime
sure.
I've gotten, in fact, recently, it was the friend of a friend of mine. You know, the friend calls me and says, oh, you know, I got this friend. I'm going to give her your phone number. And I'm like,
Don't do that.
okay.
Do you often get like
I don't get a lot.
emails, like maybe just directly to you from like community members or parents, and it says like, I would like to remain anonymous?
Not
No,
very
but
often. Never gotten
usually
them.
you know who they are. And it's kind of like Janet said, there's a few community members that know me, and so they'll text me or question or email me some big issue, and I'm like, did you email you gotta send this to the board,
You know, maybe.
But I
you're-
feel like, in my short time here, I feel like I have heard, well, someone told me this but wants to remain anonymous.
Have you?
I feel like I have heard that.
You know,
And here's the thing,
but-
like you can't, if you're hearing that and you feel as if you're hearing that, then the job and the role
even if it comes in your direction, I'm a parent and I say I have an issue with this board member, keep me anonymous, you're gonna go, you have that trust established, you're gonna go and talk to board member Susan and you're gonna say, parent has this issue, and you're probably gonna say to the parent, I am going to say who you are because that's how we work through things in this
I
district.
mean, if it's truly.
And that's my response when parents came to me at school, is if you want to remain anonymous, then this is going to stay between you and I.
Right.
And not really go any
Anywhere.
farther.
If it's truly a problem that needs to be solved, and whoever wants to remain anonymous, obviously, it's not a big enough issue to them, because we gotta put a name with the problem, otherwise we can't effectively fix a problem. And, you know, for years, it was the board's mode of operation. If there's a complaint and there's no name attached to it, nothing got done with it, because is it some random person just, you know, throwing darts hoping something sticks, or is it a legitimate, and you have no way to follow up on it?
Or you end up going into shotgun management. So it might-
Exactly, and it's not the way that you want to operate, and you're being directed by some anonymous force, and you kind of lose some of your control when you get somebody in the dark, you know, kind of trying to direct traffic, and it's not fair to what we try to do.
Speaking of this conversation, I want to just jump ahead to this.
I didn't see much in terms of role, like member versus whole, oversight versus the day-to-day management. Do you all want to write a
I think
commitment
it would
around
be a
this?
good idea.
We talked about it a lot, but
I think it would be a good idea. I think it's important that we recognize that each one of us is 1 to 5, and individually, we only have 1/5 of the vote. And we cannot individually make a
We
decision.
will recognize our role as a member, as the board.
We did do that one.
I think you had that
Yeah.
one
You had
about
that
being,
The one about we will bring our perspective, passion, and,
Oh, I don't have that one.
he scribbled it out on one side.
I know, and I only got little pieces of it, not the whole thing. Talked about the buy-in by the community. Educate,
that it? Oh, I missed it.
communicate, knowledge, passion.
We will bring our knowledge, passion, and perspective.
Uh-oh, to the
need
force.
to
To
translate.
Be with
the
you.
forces handwriting.
yeah, that's what it is. It's my handwriting. We will bring our knowledge, passion, and perspective as, I'm not sure if we figured out exactly how that ended. We will bring it says, we will bring our knowledge, passion, and perspective as part of the entire entity. Or,
It was to our role as
To-
part, but.
yeah, to
But
our,
we kind
But I
of
don't know
didn't
if it
finish it because
really-
we thought
yeah.
we would wordsmith it all
yeah.
together.
We will bring our
What's a good start?
knowledge, passion, and perspective well, if we could say, in our role as a board member, we will bring knowledge, passion, and perspective as a part of the entire entity. Entire entity sounds like a lot.
Entire entity
Like
and,
as a
Of
whole.
the board,
As a whole.
like, oh, the whole board.
of the whole board. We are part of the whole board. In our role as board member, we will bring our knowledge, passion, and perspective to
We will recognize that knowledge, passion, and what was the other one?
perspective.
Passion, what was that? Knowledge, passion, perspective.
Yeah.
And perspective. We will recognize the knowledge of each board member is unique to each board member and plays an important role in the collective decision-making.
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of collective decision making.
Does that get to
But
the
is that member
difference
versus
of
whole, right?
member versus whole, oversight versus management?
Acknowledging the individual's role, you know, okay, you bring
Yeah.
whatever perspective. You know, it kind of acknowledges the role as an individual and, you know, how that equation equals.
So, to contribute to the collective decision-making of the
Oh,
board.
I like that one. Contribute to the collective collaboration.
As are.
As a board member,
Oh.
we,
As a board member.
we will bring our knowledge, passion, and perspective to contribute to the collective decision-making of the board.
Collective making of the whole board. Cross that whole, keep
Yeah, I
whole.
don't think we need whole.
Yeah, we don't do-
Entire?
Yeah, we don't.
Well, doesn't collective kind of sum it up?
Yeah.
Collective. Do we need the word whole or anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's the board.
Right. And it's a collective.
Because as an individual, you're not the
Okay,
board.
well, here's me playing devil's advocate. We have one board member that's not here. So if that's written, he was not part of any of this, obviously he's not part of this conversation. So when he reads it, how would we assume he interprets that? You know, the entire board? Or is it just, you know, a statement for dummies that it's implied in there that means the whole board?
Well, when I
think
see the
board is
board, that
plural.
implies to me
Yeah.
that it's the whole board
Whole board.
versus a board member.
Member, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Like I said, I'm just playing devil's
No, I
advocate
get it,
because
I
I
get
don't
it.
want there to be any confusion. Because I think everybody's doing a really good job here, and I don't want to end up with a faux pas somewhere.
Yeah, we will bring our knowledge.
So
passion,
devil's
and
advocate, how do we
perspective.
differentiate between doing exactly what this says on an oversight forest level
Mhm.
as opposed to a tree level?
What do you mean? Are we talking about the fact that we are not in the day-to-day operation business, we're in the policy
We're the
business?
oversight.
Correct, right.
Well, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good point.
I mean,
We will
Well,
acknowledge that we're
but
a
I don't know if,
policy-making
I don't
board
know
and
if
not
that's
an
what
operational.
this is intended for. But when I see oversight management or that,
I think that's more of the member versus whole thing. So do we need a separate thing for oversight? Or do we want to put in there something
no.
as, you know, as policy makers, not day-to-day operation? I mean, again, it's one of those things that goes with being
Right,
on
and
the
I don't
board.
know if that's two separate things or just one or the other, and we're good.
Well, yeah,
I'm
I
good
think
with
it-
what it says.
I
I
think
just don't
it's
know if we
important to
need.
have that differentiation in there because we have one employee, so we quote unquote have oversight on one
Mhm.
employee,
Yeah.
not everybody.
Right.
So I think using the word oversight could be misinterpreted
Mhm,
to
yeah.
mean something more than
Mm.
it really is intended.
Yeah.
So,
As board members, we will bring that, and that to contribute to the collective decision-making of the board as as the collective decision, the collective policy decision makings of the board.
I think we need to be more literal than that. Like, we will acknowledge we are a policy-making board. We are not an
Yeah, we could have some-
operational.
No, then
Yeah.
we should probably have two then. I
Yeah.
think that kind of,
Yeah.
those
I
are
make
really
that a
two
I would make that a-
diverse things, so I think there should be
Totally
two
separate
things.
one. That,
I think
that
that
we're,
one's
we're a
fine.
policy-making board. We are not a.
You know,
And this kind of goes back to the same one though of the, on the very first page. As board, we will listen actively, like, promote the board on and off the dais, like one of that's kind of.
I mean, all of
follows-
these kind of have a common thread through it. They
Mhm.
all work together.
Mhm.
yeah, if we're gonna do the roles, then, and we want that, those
The two
two,
have to be
those two
separate.
things,
I
then
would
they'd
think
have to be two
because
separate
they're
things.
individual,
Yeah.
very
Mhm.
important
Yeah.
clarification.
Well, what if you put while respecting?
Our role as a policy-making board.
No, so if it's as a board member, we will bring knowledge, passion, perspective to contribute to the collective policymaking decisions, collective policymaking decisions of the board while respecting, this is where the staff comes in, respecting
I would still make it two separate ones.
Yeah.
I would just, I understand.
I know, I like how short
respect the
these are.
authority.
Yeah, they are short.
Respect the professional, respect, I mean, we will be respectful of staff's responsibilities and workload.
It could be interpreted in collective policy making that it only applies when we are talking about policies.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get caught up in semantics, but clarification, making it abundantly clear is helpful to everyone, so there is no confusion to what the intent is.
So it would be would it be then, we will respect the responsibilities of both the board and the staff, and not
For the rules.
and not, cross the lines.
Yes, respecting the abilities of the staff for which they were hired to, job they were hired to do.
Bill, what's your thought on this?
What if it's just, sorry, Bill, go ahead.
It seemed more clear when you had the one that you agreed on and were totally like in favor of.
Yeah.
And then having two short ones seems clearer than having one
One with lots of commas.
elongated with all of the.
Yeah, I'm with it.
Mhm.
So what's the second one want to say? We will.
And I
we
thought
will-
someone said it earlier fairly nicely about.
The oversight one? I didn't
Yeah,
have that
about-
one.
About what?
Oversight versus management.
About being a policy?
Well, that we understand our responsibility lies.
Within our roles.
Yeah, lies in.
That's
Oversight.
Right.
Yeah.
We understand our responsibility lies within oversight of policy.
Of policy.
Of policy, of budget, and of the superintendent. Like, that's kind of.
Keep it.
Yeah.
And that day-to-day operations are outside of the scope of board operation.
community. We will engage with our community to increase buy-in. And then the second one was, we will recognize the district's importance to the community.
I love the first one.
So that was actually, I think we had
We'll
combined them
engage
because
with
we.
our community.
Right, because
Yeah.
we wanted to engage with our community, so they bought into us, but then also they understood, and I shared with them, but I did not share with you two. Like, at the Chamber of Commerce meeting the other day, you know, I, as an ex officio member in that,
Yeah.
but they pointed out, we're the largest employer in this area. Like, so it's not,
yeah.
it's not just increasing their buy-in, but also recognizing our importance to their community.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that may be where
There's a-
we lost or
yeah.
we lose, is
Yeah.
that they don't see
Oh, it's just the
how
school.
important
Yeah.
we are to the
Right.
so
To the
that
community.
was kind of
Yeah.
how that was. I think we tried to do one, but again, maybe we should be going for shorter and sweeter ones as opposed to longer ones.
Yeah, short, concise, and understandable is value in that.
Yeah.
We will recognize the district's importance to the community to engage.
Well, this isn't us recognizing it, because I
No.
think we do.
We do, but I think,
It's the
Getting the
community
community to
recognizing
recognize.
that we're a big part of them.
Yeah,
and
just-
and an important part of them.
just like any big company that comes in, people are like, oh,
What if we put assist in recognizing? We will engage with our community to increase buy-in and assist in recognizing the district's importance to the community.
Let's raise awareness.
We will
The
Yeah.
district's
Awareness.
importance
We
to
will
the
raise
community.
awareness, we will promote, we will.
and yeah, because I
We
think
want
you put them to have that
recognize it.
perspective.
Yeah.
Like you just saying, I'm like, that's 100% true. Just like when you think of everybody with the semiconductor plant, everybody knows that's there, and like, oh, that's going to employ all these people. That's so important. We need to have all of this.
Is overlooked.
Yeah.
You know, it's been there and it's like the white noise, not to,
Yeah.
not to say
Yeah.
that the district is white noise, but it just blends into the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't think of it as an employer, you just think of it as a school
It's a
district and a
school.
bunch of schools.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Kudos to whoever came up with that.
We will raise awareness of the district's importance to the community by engaging with our community and increasing community buy-in. Community.
With our community to increase. right?
Here,
Instead
with
of
our
and.
community.
Yeah.
To.
To, because we're
Increase.
engaging
Increase.
to increase their buy-in.
Yeah. Buy-in. Yeah. I don't know if I need to say community again. Maybe just
Or
to
To
increase
increase their.
their
Their?
buy-in.
Okay.
Increase buy-in. Okay. Yeah.
So we will
We will
raise
raise
awareness of the district's importance to the community by engaging with our community to increase their buy-in.
Raise awareness of the district's importance.
I'm
We
not
might
sure
not
how-
need that first community.
I'm not
We
sure. Okay.
will raise awareness of the district's importance by engaging with our community. And then what was it? To
Maybe we will engage locally to increase buy-in and then have the community pieces after. Is that, I see community in there a lot.
and so many
Mhm.
times, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Say that again, Jackie?
we will engage locally
By
to
engaging
increase
locally.
buy-in. And,
How about community buy-in?
well, we're trying to get rid of
Oh,
community
right,
one,
okay.
I mean,
Raise
What if we
awareness.
kept- 'cause I feel like this is an important
Or
one at the
maybe-
beginning.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if
We will raise
kept this
awareness
one,
of the
changed
district's
that one,
importance.
I don't know that we're gonna get away from two communities.
We will raise
Two
awareness
communities.
of the district's
Right.
importance.
I was thinking we had.
To the community by engaging with them
Mm-hmm.
to increase We could say their buy-in and get it down to one, or community buy-in.
Or
at the
local
end.
buy-in.
Or local buy-in.
Local buy-in.
I love this.
You know, shop local.
Okay, here we go.
Attend local.
We will raise awareness of the district's importance
To the community.
to the community by engaging with
That.
them to increase local buy-in.
Yeah. I think we got that.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah.
I think so.
I'm looking
All right.
at the source.
Yeah.
Synonym for.
Local community. Increase local
I'm gonna put this in a document after I gotta make sure I follow the Okay. I noticed that there wasn't a strong commitment to students.
In the norms that we gave you.
Correct.
Okay, I just
Okay.
wanted to
The
clarify.
norms you gave
Wait a minute, we all
Sorry.
talked about that, but
Yeah,
you're right.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
why I
Yeah.
took it upon myself to try to draft one, because in our introductions, in our icebreaker, there was a lot of students
Students, yeah.
and bringing value to the district in order to help students, get them to succeed. We have the 3 E's.
I think that's perfect. We will keep students at the forefront of
Keep
decision
students at the
making.
forefront of decision making.
That's, yep,
They are the
Mhm.
reason
That's what
why.
it's about.
that's it.
Do you think this should be, like, when I go to make the list, number 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to try to tackle this again? That's the role, member, oversight, management.
Well, we got the member versus whole.
Yeah.
And so I think we just got to come up with the oversight versus management,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
This communication, we will acknowledge receipt of communications and inform staff of any significant conversations regarding the district.
Yep.
Yep.
Right?
That's good.
Confidentiality. We will respect the sensitive nature of information privy to.
We are privy to.
We are
it.
privy
We
to.
are privy to and seek clarification / guidance when necessary.
Yep.
Okay?
Confidentiality, that's good.
I think this one should be number 2.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
my thought.
I do too.
Yeah.
Okay, respect. I know you're ready. Why don't you read it, and I'll.
We will represent the board and the district positively. Maybe a colon, or I don't know how you want to punctuate this.
5.
We will lead by example. We will actively listen. We will positively acknowledge each other's comments. We will promote the board on and off the dais.
Say that again, actively listening.
Positively acknowledge each other's comments. Promote the board on and off the dais.
At this point in my writing, this is just
Yeah.
for me. Okay.
Are we red? Are we
You
purple?
you need Bill's little piece of paper there?
Yeah, I'll probably steal it. But Julia apparently is taking phenomenal notes. over there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She's.
Zach's out. Oh, Jeff left.
He had to
He had
use
a
the
potty
restroom real
break.
quick. I think so.
All right. Well, we got 4 done. 5 done.
So, yeah, so we just have.
So let's figure out.
There's 3, 4, 5, right?
Yeah.
And then it's
We just have
just the oversight versus
Yeah.
management.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be a will?
No, you can change it however it can be as a board member.
What, or it's, we acknowledge our role,
Yes.
we acknowledge staff role or
Yeah,
or
this is
the-
staff's
or the
responsibilities and
educational
workload.
professionals role. Like, that we acknowledge our board role as oversights. Somebody can help a brother out.
Oversight is not exactly the first word I would want to use.
Wouldn't it,
As
I
a
mean,
policy
without
making
it,
board.
Okay, right,
As a policy-making body
Okay.
As a
Or
with
entity.
responsibilities
Versus body, that sounds big, but.
for
Policymaking entity.
entity,
Entity.
group,
Yeah.
this policy-making entity with responsibilities for budget and
I don't even think you would.
Yeah,
you have to go-
With diverse,
with diverse.
hold on. With diverse knowledge, passions, and perspectives.
Yes.
Adding it back. So are we adding that? Oh, so we're getting rid of that other one on that page and doing two this way.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, what was the second?
Um,
Past my bedtime, Jeff.
Knowledge, passion, and perspective.
We acknowledge the board's role as a policy-making entity group with diverse knowledge, passions, and perspectives.
so that puts them both together.
So one for, well, this is board's role.
This is the board. And then there's the staff.
I know.
That's still
Do you
not
wanna
really,
do-
that's still not really getting to,
Well, we have the we acknowledge we also have the responsibility of our one employee.
Uh-huh.
It's just using the word oversight, I think it conveys a little too broad of, I mean, it
If
could,
you go somewhere, if you go someplace and you're looking up, well, what the hell does a board do?
Mm-hmm.
It says they work in policy, not operation.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if it can be just as simple as that, yeah.
Because if you're on, you have a point there. If you're on the dais and Susan, the board member, says, Bill, I want to know why Jimmy Smith got a, I know this is a horrible example, a D in science. Someone could say, well, member Susan, that's actually more operational or school-based and not so much.
Yeah, that would, yeah,
Policy.
you know, that would get into, things like, well, on the board, we're not gonna sit there and start talking about, well, why did you hire this person? That's not our job. You hired them, you brought us the thing to approve it, but we don't engage in the hiring of them.
Yeah, because you have trust.
Yeah.
So we acknowledge the board's role as a policy-making entity group with diverse, with diverse knowledge, passions, and perspectives that trusts.
While trusting the roles
District
of
leadership?
the roles of district leadership, yeah. How about that?
Trusting the roles of district leadership.
You don't like trust?
No, I do. That
Trust.
trusts the role.
The role.
that's an important word, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this?
How do you feel about that?
I'm still confused though. Is this the oversight versus management one, and then we still have that
Or making it.
board versus whole, the member versus whole,
We can't.
or is it one thing?
Well, it's kind of morphed into one thing right
Okay.
now, but if you want to get very specific on member versus whole, you could say something like, we recognize the board is the board when we are on the dais.
Well, I mean, can you go back to the one we're working on now? Oh, then couldn't we just, in front of that, say, as board members, we acknowledge our role to do this. Then we are saying we are individual board members with all those things, and we still have our trust in the district, and we know what we're doing. We're doing policy, they're doing that.
And do you need the one on the other page that you all actually seem to like before?
I think this one
And
kind of,
then this, just take out this part, it's the repetition. Because then we
then
acknowledge
leave it
the
in the
board's
first one?
role as a body, as a policy-making entity that trusts the role of district leadership.
I like
Oh,
that
yeah,
better.
that's
I
nice.
like-
Yeah.
I like that better. And
And
then
then
leave
have
that
the
in
other one,
thing.
right, the other one's on.
Did you get that?
still
All
in
right,
that last
so
one. As board members.
as board members, we acknowledge the board's role as a policy-making entity, group, or body.
I like body. It's policy making. Entity. Group's my least favorite.
Body.
I like body.
That sounds, it sounds formal, but
Policy making.
we're the
body.
leader, we're district leaders.
Jeff, you're the final vote.
What? Of what?
Entity or body?
Entity.
Entity?
Entity.
Entity it is, okay?
Body just seems bigger to me. Like, I think it does.
Entity that
Well,
trusts.
not all
That
bodies
trusts
are big.
the
Some are
role of
slim.
district leadership.
I don't need the
Yeah.
individual
Good.
body.
Some are white
And is
bodies.
it district? Is it district?
Well, is it district leadership?
Is it district?
Do you give, oh,
I mean, does that go down to the role of teachers? Does it?
Well,
And not that they,
Bus
and I
But-
would
but
actually
that's
argue
part
that they're
of-
leaders.
But that's
Yeah.
part of the trust and leadership, that the leadership will.
Yeah, but it goes
They
like
trust
this.
the role of
Yeah.
district leaders or
Maybe
leadership?
just leaders,
leaders?
the individuals. Because
a
I'm
teacher
sure
can be a
even
district
within
leader.
the, 'cause-
Correct.
and I'm sure
Well, and-
within the whole
And in
district.
some cases, that would be the leader that he
it's
would
not
go
always
to.
the same. Yeah.
Right.
He would go to the principal. The principal would go to the teacher, and we have to trust that that's the way it's gonna work, because it's not our job.
Yeah. That's good.
So we're keeping this one.
Which one?
And I just want to confirm, you wrote it down somewhere. Did you not?
But I
did, but I
think
think
then,
you
if
gave
we're
it
gonna
to me.
keep that one like that, then we can
Yeah.
get rid of the policy making in it.
Yeah. We will bring
Right.
knowledge,
We
passion,
will bring
perspective.
We will
knowledge,
bring-
passion, perspective
Knowledge, passion, perspective.
to contribute to the collective decision-making of the board.
Of the board. Okay. You finished.
Of the entity.
Okay.
You want entity or board? You want board?
You want body? Group?
Give
Conglomeration.
yourself a pat on the back.
Force.
Force.
Is that it?
Well, that's it for this.
Okay.
So you have your collective commitments. What I want you to do is get out your phone. It's gonna be hard to read. Or if you took notes, even better.
Did you say found them?
Phone, take a picture. Take
Yeah.
a picture of each page. No later than the end of this week, you will get something that looks like that. And it will be in draft format.
So that we can.
You just go to the next one, Bill, as I talk. Wait a
Well,
minute.
that's what I'm gonna.
It'll be in draft format until you all formally approve it at your next meeting. Between when you get the draft and you formally approve it, I have homework for you.
Is this for a grade?
What is, it's your
For another
personal,
box of those cookies.
Thank you, Jeff, for understanding the question.
it's your personal grade.
No one's
my
gonna
goodness.
know if you don't do it, and no one, gonna know if you do it. But it's to help you think about how you implement these collective commitments.
Okay, say that again. What are we gonna get? What is our homework?
It's number 4, activity 4, I think, right?
Yes, you'll get a draft
You have to think
document.
about how you're gonna do this. Oh, I think this one might have been mine. Maybe that's it.
What?
Yours and mine got swapped, I think. I think this is mine, and I think these are all yours.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So between now and when you formally adopt them, I want you to think about how you're going to implement them. And these reflective questions, because I didn't know what was going to happen today, so I put a whole bunch on. You can pick and choose which ones you want to be reflective on and which ones fit our draft collective commitments. The purpose of this exercise is to sit and to ensure that you're meeting your fellow board members' expectations in the best way that you know you can meet them. There's no right or wrong. There might be better and best.
But we can grow together.
And you can grow together.
There's always room for growth.
That's good. Okay.
And remember my challenge from earlier. Try to find some time, dinner, coffee, lunch. Figure out what your pet's name is. Who has a fish? Who has a dog? Who owns a horse?
I used to.
Who went to Africa and backpacked? Try to get
You did.
to know each other even better. Okay?
I can't top that one.
Any questions before we head on out? Sorry I kept you a little late.
Okay, are we?
No, I would just like to say thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
thank you.
covered a
thank you
lot.
very
Hopefully it was
much.
beneficial
Yes,
to you, and I'll
it
send you a
was.
survey too so you can grade me.
I appreciate everybody's honesty and willingness. I think it's huge, and I think it's good for all of us.
Yeah, this is very good.
And thank you for following the dots wherever they were.
Yeah, the bouncing dots.
So, okay.
And we do
so
need a
I-
vote to adjourn,
Yes,
correct?
we do. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we're adjourned. It's
3.
43. We'll still cookie for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes, get a cookie for tomorrow.
Good cookies.
Did you vote on the motion? I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, no.
Unanimous.
I thought we could maybe stay. Since 4:30.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I did hit stop on that one.
Can you hit this, because I don't know what I'm doing here, so I don't, I really don't.